Let's start this off. A nice little review of a Racal Ra150-ZH. Nice little three wheeler. It's got a nice pickup truck on the back, which all in all, it's not a bad design. I've had it 3 months now, and well, got I can list it as okay for the value for what I paid. It's not a real good quality machine. You know, the frame seems solid enough. The rear suspension is, well, I don't know. Let me find another angle for it. Over here, it's got leaf springs and coil spring helpers. Around the back, it's got nice taillights on it, and got a couple of chairs in back there that I put back there. And let's see the coil springs and the leaf spring suspension, which makes it ride solid as a rock. Recommended tire pressure on there is about 55 psi, and I've dropped it down to about 32 psi, which makes it ride much, much better. The uh, the toolkit that I'm assuming is supposed to come with the bike, I never got. I did get a nice nifty little scissors jack, which really doesn't do me a damn bit of good without a tire iron to change any of the tires. But the tires on it are 4.50 by 12, and they need to be at least on the back. They need to be at probably another 2 inches taller to drop the RPMs down at 45, 50 kilometers an hour. You know, it'll run 45, 50 all day long, which, I do quite a bit. I just, it's kind of like my car, drive it on the highway. So, it's not bad for that. It's just the engine RPM would be a lot lower with either a bigger gear or a smaller gear in the back or taller tires. Um, like I said, no toolkit came with it. Um, what else? Oh, yeah, right here you can see there's supposed to be a cushion that comes stock with everybody else's bike. I never got one of those either. And the guy at the Racal dealer promised me, oh, with it, we'll have it in 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And it's been 3 months now that I've had this thing, and still no pad. Before I even pulled it off the lot, there's there's a driver's side mirror, which works out pretty good, except for the plastic is so thin right around here that it was broken on this side. Where you can see I kind of got, I don't know, the sunshine might be blocking it out a little bit. And I pulled one of my dig into my old parts bin and find an old piece of crap because that was broken before I even drove it off the showroom. Um, the front fairing, within 2 days of buying it, you can see right here, there's two bolts that had to be drilled and put in here because even though 2 days after I bought it, the plastic mounts on the inside right there were wound up broken already because the vibration, which on this thing, like I said, it rides like a brick bouncing down the front road. I had to take a piece of an old flip flop or sandal or slipper they call them here, and put it in right there because the windshield vibrates into the speedometer, and you can see, it's still low, only 1,600 kilometers on there, so it's still pretty new. Just changed the oil for the third time for the break-in, and the carburetor. About the third tank of fuel that I ran through this thing, the carburetor decided that it's gonna start messing up, and it if you pick an RPM and just hold it at that RPM, it and well, they readjusted it 3 or 4 times. I've had it back into the shop, and they finally got it to where it's running better. Still not great, but it's a lot better than it was. You can see down here the engine mounts. It's got rubber mounts, which is a really nice design. But the engine still vibrates so bad that the harmonics and all the metal in the back, and I'll show you in a second. The vibration harmonics, everything just vibrates to like crazy from the fairing all the way through. All right, the headlight you can see right there, not a bad headlight. Down underneath, I don't know if you noticed, but there's two screws right there, which are not. Those are just the mount screws for the fairing. There is zero adjustment for the headlight, nothing. And just so happens the headlight likes to point at right at the ground, about 10 feet in front of the bike. I don't know about anybody else. When I drive at night, I like to look a little bit further than 10 feet down the road, especially when you're running 35, 40 miles an hour, and it's usually a good thing to do. The front brake, it's got drum brakes front and rear. It's got 2 drum brakes in the back, one in the front. The one in the front, since the day I got it, it doesn't work. It squeaks when I'm driving, so it sounds like a piece of crap, and really kind of embarrasses me while I'm driving down the road listening to squeak, 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 squeak. Front forks. Front forks on this thing are beefy. They really, they don't. They're heavy duty, just like the rear springs. So it rides even on the front like a brick. The day I bought it, the front fork, you can see where it's got a little bit of oil here. You can see the traces of oil that I've cleaned up 4 or 5 times, where it's actually dripping fork oil down the front fork tube. I pointed that out before, the day I bought it, and I was kind of hoping that that little bit of oil residue was just from when they assembled it, and it really, just maybe spilled a little bit inside the dust seal here. That's not the case, and it's still leaking oil. Like I said, the guy at the dealer promised me within 2 or 3 weeks that all this stuff would be put together. Here it is 3 months later, still nothing. So I'm thinking the word warranty on this means absolutely nothing. It is shaft drive. The gearbox for the shaft drive, it's got just a little bit too much, or a little bit more slop in it than I would like, but all in all, it's not too bad. You can see down here, it's got a cotter key, and the nut is loose as hell. Been trying to ask them to tighten that up just so it doesn't vibrate on that too much and wind up breaking loose and coming off while I'm driving down the road and leave me stranded with no tools to fix anything. What else? Oh, the paint. The paint on it, there is, you can see like down here, you might be able to get a good shot, I don't know with the light, but the paint on the footrest, the paint on the frame, the paint on everything. The gas tank looks like a decent paint job. Everything else, there is zero primer on it. Just gloss black paint sprayed right over the metal. No primer, no nothing. So all the paint is basically garbage. It's already peeling off and starting to rust like crazy, even though I've only had it 3 months. In the back, anywhere, I really just use it for people hauling for the most part. But anywhere I've had anything, the paint just wore right off and down to metal and rust. The back here, you you open this, open that. The tailgate folds down, the sides fold down, which is a really nice option on it. Except for the vibration, I used the slipper or the piece of a flip flop and glued a few pieces in here to keep the vibration down. You ever get one of these, or if you got a multi-cab that vibrates quite a bit, I recommend a little piece of flip flop in there to keep that down. Um, what else on here? That's about it. All in all, like I said, I paid about what 2,000, just right around $2,000 for it, or like 91,000 pesos. So it wasn't really, for what I got. It's not overpriced, but if there was a little bit of quality put into, a little bit more quality, I'd be a lot more happy. The chrome on it, all the chrome is garbage. You can see there's rust coming through on the handlebars all the way around. There's rust coming through on the caps for the forks. There's rust coming through on the bolts for the gas tank. There's rust coming through everywhere, and it's only 3 months old. Rust coming through on the chrome fender. Like I said, just a little bit more attention to detail from the manufacturer would have been really nice. The harmonics on it, it's all in all, it seems to. Let me try to hit neutral. No, it ain't gonna do it. So let me set this thing down for just a second. Try to hit neutral, and if you can see it, but the mirror is vibrating like crazy. Kind of like almost like a Harley, even though it's got four really big looking rubberized, what they looks like rubber motor mounts on there, and the harmonics you can. There you go. You can hear the vibration. You can hear the mist. You can hear the change in the RPM, even though I'm holding my hand very still on there. The whole thing wants to vibrate apart. The motor's got a lot of power to it. I've got no problems at all with the amount of power it's got. It takes off. If you give it some gas, it does take off and it moves pretty fast. The engine winds out. It can handle the higher RPM. Kind of sounds like it's designed for it. It doesn't have a tachometer, which I wish it did, because the engine's so quiet that when you're driving, it's really hard to tell, where the engine's at. You can't hear the exhaust, so you don't know how fast, what gear you really got it in. So it's, kind of hit and miss. Like I said, the carburation on it sucks, even though the carburetor says made in Japan. I don't know. He took the carburetor apart. It's brand new. Took it apart the first time, and there was a bunch of crap in the bottom of the flow bowl. It's got a decent sized fuel filter on there. You can see it in there. Maybe. Yeah. Again, the motor puts out decent power. It's fast. It's what 300 kilos, or I'm guessing about 600 pounds of what the factory recommended load capacity is on it. I'm saying you could probably go 1,000 pounds on this thing with no problem at all. It's a little bit top heavy, and with those springs, there's no shock on there, so that if you do hit a bump, it tends to recoil, and kind of like a basketball, it wants to bounce. If you hit a bump on one side, it wants to bounce the whole load off to that side. So it's a little top heavy, and would be real easy to roll this thing, especially if it's loaded up. But aside from that, the electrical system on this, I've also had problems with. If I let it sit for 2 or 3 days, there's a short in there somewhere. I don't know. And the guy, at the Racal dealer. His mechanic has a cardboard box for a toolbox, and a multimeter with an ohm meter on it is not. I don't think he's ever even seen one, let alone knows how to use one. He's got, like I said, a cardboard box for a toolbox. The horn on it used to be really loud, and even that is dropped down to about half volume. Sometimes it starts, sometimes it's got a dead battery. And kick starting is not the easiest thing in the world to do on this thing. I mean, it can be done.